The airlock hissed open, and Rhea Voss stepped through with measured steps that betrayed nothing of the pain radiating through her left side. The station's artificial gravity settled over her like a familiar blanket, but today it felt heavier than usual. She'd barely made it 3 meters into the common area when 2 small forms materialized from behind a support column, Corin and Vyra. The Kelhari cubs stood shoulder to shoulder, their golden eyes fixed on her with an intensity that would have been adorable if it weren't so unnervingly focused. Their fur, soft gray-blue patterns that marked them as siblings, bristled slightly at attention. Neither stood taller than Rhea's waist, but right now they commanded the corridor like seasoned security officers. "Identification," Corin demanded, his juvenile voice attempting a gravel it hadn't yet earned. "Retinal scan and vocal confirmation." Rhea froze. In the 3 months since she'd been assigned to Deep Station Kasara, the cubs had never blocked her path. They'd followed her, certainly, asked endless questions about human anatomy, culture, and why her species ate such dangerously hot foods. But this was new. "It's me, Corin. Rhea. You know, vocal patterns can be mimicked," Vyra interrupted, her ears flattening against her skull. "The Yazarathi have demonstrated this capability 17 times in recorded history. Present your identification credentials." Through the throbbing in her ribs, Rhea felt something else stir. These weren't just cubs playing at guard duty. Something had frightened them badly enough to override their usual bouncing enthusiasm. She glanced past them, noting the unusual emptiness of the common area. Where were the other residents? The usual evening crowd? She raised her hands slowly, palms forward. "Okay, retinal scan it is." Corin produced a handheld scanner that looked comically oversized in his small paws. He approached with careful steps, his sister covering him from 2 meters back with what Rhea recognized with some alarm as a genuine security-grade stun weapon. The scanner's light washed over her eyes, and she forced herself not to blink. The bruise along her cheekbone pulsed in time with her heartbeat. "Confirmed," Corin announced after an agonizing 5 seconds. "Rhea Voss. Human. Medical officer. Deep Station Kasara." His official tone cracked. "What happened to your face?" Before Rhea could answer, Vyra was at her side. The weapon vanished somewhere into her utility harness. "You're hurt. Multiple contusions visible, possible rib fracture based on the way you're holding your left side." Her small nose twitched. "And you smell like Griddian fuel cells." "Long story," Rhea managed, wincing as Vyra's surprisingly gentle paws probed her side. "What's going on here? Why the security protocols?" The cubs exchanged a glance that held entire conversations. Finally, Corin spoke. "There was an incident 6 hours ago. A person came through that airlock, claiming to be Station Chief Morven, looked like him, sounded like him, knew his access codes." The cub's voice dropped to barely a whisper, but he couldn't answer when we asked him what he'd given Vyra for her naming day. "It was a Zarathi infiltrator," Vyra added. Her usual brightness dimmed. "The real Chief Morven had been detained on the lower decks. The thing tried to access the station's defense grid." Rhea's exhaustion suddenly made sense. The bruise, the aching ribs, the fuel cell smell clinging to her uniform. "You noticed because you pay attention to details no one else thinks matter. Mother always says the small things reveal the truth," Corin said, some of his usual pride returning. "Father says we ask too many annoying questions." "Your father," Rhea said carefully, lowering herself to a sitting position against the wall, despite the protests from her ribs, "is wrong. Your questions just saved this station." Vyra's ears perked up. "The fuel cell smell you were on the cargo level?" "The Zarathi infiltrator wasn't working alone," Rhea confirmed. "When the real Chief Morven was found, I went to check on the cargo bay. Found 3 more pretending to be dock workers. They didn't appreciate being discovered, hence the bruise," Corin observed with professional detachment that would have made any medic proud. Then the cub's composure cracked entirely. "You fought 3 Zarathi infiltrators alone? I didn't have much choice. They were rigging an explosive to the station's oxygen reclamation system." Rhea smiled, despite the pain. Humans are surprisingly durable when motivated. And I was very motivated to get back here. Because it's your home, Vira said softly. Because you two were here, Rhea corrected. The second I realized what they were planning, all I could think about was that you cubs might get hurt. The siblings went very still in that particular way young Kelhari did when processing strong emotions. Then, moving as one, they pressed against her sides, carefully avoiding her injuries. Their warm bodies radiated a heat that had nothing to do with their elevated core temperature. We were scared, Corin admitted into her shoulder. When the infiltrator was discovered, all the adults started running around, giving orders, securing sections. No one explained anything to us. We didn't know who to trust, so we decided to trust our training. Vira continued. Mother's lessons about observation. Father's protocols about verification. And what you taught us about human stubbornness. Rhea laughed, then immediately regretted it as her ribs protested. What did I teach you about human stubbornness? That humans never give up, Corin said firmly. That they keep going even when logic says they should stop. That they protect what they love even when it's dangerous. Especially when it's dangerous, Vira added. The airlock hissed again. And this time a full security team emerged, Chief Morven at their head. The tall Kelhari's fur showed signs of rough handling, but his eyes were sharp and clear. Voss. Thank the ancestors. We received your emergency signal from the cargo bay. He paused, taking in the scene. His cubs flanking the injured human, like tiny furry guardians. I see you've already passed inspection. Most thorough screening I've ever received, Rhea confirmed. Your cubs have excellent protocol adherence, Chief. Morven's expression shifted through several emotions before landing on unmistakable pride. They demanded to verify every person entering this section. Even me, especially me, after. He didn't finish. After they discovered the truth when everyone else was fooled, Rhea finished for him. You should be proud, Chief. They saved us all. The cub's fur fluffed with pleasure, but they didn't leave Rhea's side. Come on, Corin said, his earlier authoritative tone returning. We need to get you to medical bay. Possible rib fracture, remember? And you need to eat, Vira added. Humans heal better with proper nutrition. I read your species' medical journals. As they helped her stand their small bodies, providing surprisingly effective support, Rhea caught Chief Morven's eye. The Kelhari's expression said everything his words couldn't in front of his cubs. Gratitude, respect, and the bone-deep relief of a parent whose children had survived danger. Lead the way, Rhea told the cubs, but no more surprise security checks for at least a week, okay? We make no promises, Corin said seriously. Vigilance is constant. The price of safety, Vira agreed with equal solemnity. Then, as they guided her down the corridor, their professional demeanor cracked. But we're glad you came back, they said in unison. Even with the bruise, Rhea smiled despite everything, the pain, the exhaustion, the knowledge of how close they'd all come to disaster. Me too, cubs. Me too. Behind them, the airlock sealed shut, its security protocols now enhanced with a new requirement. Anyone entering would have to answer questions that only the real inhabitants would know. Questions about naming days, favorite foods, and the small details that made a place more than just a station. Questions that two observant cubs had proven could save everyone's lives.